an Assassin's Creed video. You weren't expecting that, were you? Well, there's a topic that I want to cover in the AC series, and I think I might do more videos on this. However, they would be a rare occasion because they're not one of my main games. Anyway, today's topic is in Assassin's Creed why I think the Templars are right and the Assassins are wrong. But first, we need to talk about where both factions came from. Back at the beginning of time, there was a rebellion between the humans and the Isu, which were the deity-like beings that created the world in the Assassin's Creed lore. After the rebellion, which was won by the humans, the human rebels split up into two factions, the Assassins and the Templars, who weren't called the Templars back then, but I'm just going to call them that because that's what they're most known as. They both believed in peace among the humans. However, they had ways of gaining it in their own ways. The Assassins wanted freedom and free will, let everyone do what they want, while the Templars thought that they should be a governing body of the people of the world because they believed that mankind would need a leader. That might sound like the Assassins are the good guys, that and also because they're depicted as the good guys in almost every Assassin's Creed game. However, it's not that black and white. I don't believe that, if the Templars won the war, they would, mind control everyone in the world, like the Illuminati. I think that's a big misconception about the Templars. I don't think they're like the Illuminati. I think they'd just be like any other government body, that, people would still, have free minds and free wills. It's just that they would be governing over the which would be one nation. The end with the Assassins is that their number one priority is freedom. Freedom over peace. Yet with the Templars, peace is prioritized over freedom, which I think it should be, because there's no point of having freedom if you die in a war or in a conflict. And the Assassins have been very hypocritical many times, at the end of Assassin's Creed 3, spoiler alert by the way, I'm giving you a few seconds to skip the spoiler, but you're probably not going to. Yes, I stole that joke from Grainolf, I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. The main protagonist, I haven't played Assassin's Creed 3 in a while, so I forgot his name. He sacrifices himself so that an Isu can start her invasion of taking over the world, which is more like Illuminati, because she plans on taking over the world like the Illuminati does. And that's critical, because then the Assassins have just caused something they've spent literally all of time trying to prevent. And the Assassins, they're kind of like a terrorist organization. When they messed with the pieces of Eden in Lisbon, Portugal, they destroyed the whole city. This happens in Assassin's Creed Rogue, by the way. And spoiler alert, this is why Shay Cormac defects and joins the Templars. That's why Assassin's Creed Rogue is my personal favourite Assassin's Creed game so far, because you actually play as a Templar instead of an assassin. But anyway, and the problem with their freedom philosophy is that freedom can easily turn into anarchy if people get ambitious with freedom, and anarchy is not freedom. Because, for example, when anarchy means there's no law whatsoever, which means you could kill a guy and get away with it. The problem with that is that victim of the murder, he's not free, because he never got the choice on to die or not. the freedom of existing is then taken away from him. And when someone steals something, the victim is not free, because they're not free to own that property they rightfully got. So freedom can easily turn into anarchy, which can easily turn into tyranny, which the Templars would prevent. Now I'll explain some of the problems with the Templars. They are not perfect either. They have done similar crimes as the assassins, however on a much smaller scale in my opinion. Like, there have been very many evil Templars, like Cesare Borgia, who left. Well, he didn't leave the Templars. Actually, now come to think of it, I'm not actually sure if he was actually a Templar or if he was just working with them. But anyway, he got this power that the Templars gave to him and grew too hungry with it, so he forgot the Templars' ways and just went and did his own thing by conquering Italy. And the Pope at the time, who was a Templar still, I don't think the Pope was that bad, because he was still sticking to the Templar cause. So the problem with the Templars is that some of their leaders get too ambitious from the power, and then they lose the ways of the Templar cause. But most Templars are not like that. Haytham Kenway, he was very obsessed with the Templar cause, and Shay Cormac, the protagonist in Assassin's Creed Rogue, was definitely not a bad guy. He joined the Templars because he knew that they were right, and because he wanted to stop the assassins from destroying more cities like they did Lisbon. And also, let's face it, the Assassin's Creed members are douchebags like Connor and Altair. Man, I hated those two characters. But I just wanted to state that that's not really an argument, that's just their personality. Minutes of gameplay, because I couldn't find any good gameplay after that. One thing I want to make clear is that you're probably thinking, why do I think that the assassins are wrong, the Templars are right, but I also think that the Stormcloaks are right in Skyrim and the Imperials are wrong in Skyrim? Because the assassins in Assassin's Creed and the Stormcloaks in Skyrim are like the resistance against the governing tyrannical body, and the Templars and the Imperials from Skyrim are kind of like that incompetent governing body that is no longer fit to rule, or in the Templars' case was never fit to rule in the first place. Well, the difference between the Stormcloaks in Skyrim and the assassins in the Assassin's Creed games is that the Assassin's Creed, the assassins use guerrilla tactics to fight their war. And the problem with guerrilla tactics is that civilians are on the line and people get hurt. Like, when you are fighting a conventional warfare, you have uniforms to depict each side so that no fighting personnel gets hurt. However, the assassins, they don't really have to have anything to show that they're assassins, despite them wearing hoods, and that Ezio dresses more fancy than a rich guy in Paris. That was a terrible simile, but it's the first thing I thought of in the top of my head. But the Stormcloaks, they are fighting, despite that they're an unconventional army, they are fighting conventional warfare because they are wearing blue, Stormcloak colours, where they can easily be depicted on the battlefield so that no one gets hurt. And also, they don't really fight a guerrilla warfare because they fight wars like any conventional army would. They attack forts the conventional way, not terrorist tactics. And the difference between the Templars and the Imperials from Skyrim is that the Imperials, the reason I thought that the Imperials were wrong is because, one, they were too incompetent to rule Skyrim anymore, and second, that they were taking away people's freedoms. Like for example, when they banned Talos worship. The Templars are not like that. I believe that if they won the war, they would be competent enough to rule, because they have powerful enough army, even though the army isn't even really theirs, it's just indirectly helping theirs. And also because, as mentioned before, even if the Templars did manage to take over the world, that's a bad way to put it, manage to win the war, I doubt that they'd actually take people's freedoms away from them. They'd just be the governing body that controls it. And I think the only way they take people's freedoms away is by new laws and stuff, but I doubt they'd take people's religions away from them, for example. So, I just wanted to make that clear. And not only do I think the Templars are right, I also think that they'd be the most likely ones to win the war. That is, if the war would end, because this war has been going on literally since the beginning of time. The reason I say that they would most likely win the war is that they have always been all the way up to the modern time. In fact, in modern time, more than any other time, they have always been the more powerful ones. Yes, the assassins were the most stealthy, and they could liberate fortresses. Yes, but to win an underground war that happens across the entire world, I don't think that would be enough. The Templars, on the other hand, instead of fighting a guerrilla warfare and liberating fortresses and stuff, they have already gotten control of the world. They have members in the government, or at least they have in history. Like leaders of the world have been Templars, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the modern time that there are Templars within the governments of the world. And they have all the biggest industries, like Abstergo Industries, and they're the ones with the most power. And I don't think the assassins could do enough, no matter how much, to prevent that, because they don't own companies, they don't have puppets within the government, they are just an underground terrorist organisation, if you ask me, that goes around stabbing people in the neck like there's no tomorrow. Which is why I think the Templars are right. But that's another thing, I think they're right because they're the most likely to win. That did not make sense whatsoever. That's like me saying T-Series is right because they're the most likely to win. Which, by the way, they're not. They are both wrong in that war, and they will not win. But that's off topic. So that is everything I want to cover in this. I think that's why the Templars should win this underground war, and why I think they will win this war. Hope you've enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you did. Let me know if you want more Assassin's Creed content. I will probably do more Assassin's Creed content. It's just not very often because it's not one of my main games. Anyway, hope you have a nice day. Goodbye.